Welcome to RTB, the podcast for aviation geeks, made by Aviation Geeks. In today's episode, flying and fighting in the tornadoes based in West Germany.
Imagine flying a machine so powerful that a single missile launch becomes the fastest thing you've ever witnessed in your life. Today, we're exploring the incredible world of the RAF Tornado through the eyes of someone who lived it. Former RAF pilot Michael Napier, who flew Tornado GR1s from 1985 to 1994.
That's fascinating to think about. Here's this massive piece of engineering that pilots had to master after training in much smaller aircraft. The way Napier described his first impression as formidably huge and very complicated really sets the stage.
You know what's remarkable about the cockpit he describes? It's like a technological cocoon built around the pilot. The head-up display, projected map display, and all these critical warning systems. And they had to master every single one while cruising at 420 knots.
Speaking of speed, it's mind-blowing that they could accelerate to 540 knots for attack runs. That's nearly twice the speed of a commercial airliner.
And let me tell you about the weapon systems. There's this fascinating contrast in how Napier describes them. He talks about dropping practice bombs almost daily like it's routine. But then when he mentions firing that Sidewinder missile, his whole tone changes. He says he'd never ever seen anything move so fast in his life.
That reminds me, how did they handle encounters with other aircraft during exercises? It must have been intense going up against top fighters of the era.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. They faced everything from British Lightnings to American F-15s, and their primary tactic wasn't to engage. It was to avoid detection altogether. They used terrain screening to hide from radar and held enemy fighters at specific angles to break their radar locks. It was more like a chess game than a dogfight.
The evolution of American perspective on the Tornado really shows its effectiveness. Here's this European aircraft they initially dismissed, but after seeing it in action, they seriously considered buying it.
Exactly. And when you look at Napier's combat missions over Iraq in 1993, you see why. He was part of this massive 100-aircraft strike package against Iraqi air defenses, yet they maintained incredible precision. Though interestingly, he describes feeling this strange sense of anticlimax afterward.
That psychological aspect is fascinating, maintaining professional focus while carrying out these complex operations with weapon systems they'd barely trained with.
And that's what really stands out about their training philosophy. They had minimal practice with laser-guided bombs, yet succeeded in their missions because their fundamental training was so solid. It wasn't about memorizing scenarios. It was about building adaptable skills.
That adaptability must have been crucial when things didn't go as planned, like that January 1993 daylight mission where they had targeting pod difficulties.
Absolutely right. And you know what's telling? Even when their initial attack didn't work out, they had backup plans. The second pair of aircraft successfully engaged the target, showing how their training prepared them for these contingencies.
Looking at Napier's 1,750 hours in the Tornado really shows the depth of experience these pilots developed. That's a lot of time to understand an aircraft's capabilities and limitations.
And that experience led to some fascinating insights about what the aircraft needed. Napier wanted better air-to-air capability and data linking with AWACS, showing how intimately familiar he was with both the strengths and potential improvements needed. These weren't just pilots. They were professionals who truly understood every aspect of their aircraft's capabilities.
So what do you think this tells us about the relationship between pilots and their aircraft?
Well, I think it shows how these machines become more than just tools. They're partners in accomplishing incredibly complex missions. When Napier describes the Tornado as flexible, dependable, accurate, he's not just listing specifications. He's describing qualities that both the machine and its crew needed to survive and succeed in their mission environment. It's a remarkable example of how technology and human skill come together to create something greater than the sum of its parts.
Thanks for stopping by, friends. See you soon in the next episode of RTB. Happy landings.